But we're here to talk about how to work with nonprofits and brands to use their collateral material, their resources, and so on and so forth to help augment your programs. And also hopefully get in a dialogue a little bit about tips that we can do together as individual organizations and collectively as a network as we move forward. Today with us we have Jane Park-Wu. Jane is with Too Small to Fail, the Clinton Foundation, and I think you all saw Jane this morning off the side there working Mr. Layla's PowerPoint presentation. But Jane has been instrumental, and her colleague Nicole over here, wave, thank you, have been instrumental in helping us build out the Talk, Read, Sing for Change program that we're launching, kind of launched today, and we'll have more information about as we move forward. And then next to Jane, we have Summer Hunt. Summer is an editorial director for Healthy Mom and Baby magazine, which is part of the A1, which is the Association of Women's Health, Obstetrics, and Neonatal Nurses Organization. We've been working with A1 and Healthy Mom and Baby for the past 2 years on some program activities as well, and we'll talk a little bit about those as we're going forward. Next to Summer is Elise Ring. Elise is with Even Flow Feeding, and I'm sorry I don't have your title on here.
Senior Director of Marketing.
There we go, Senior Director of Marketing. Elise has been instrumental again in helping us do a pilot program of providing Even Flow feeding products to some select diaper bank programs, and it's a great partnership that we hope to continue to expand upon. And then we have Ed Green. Ed is with the Hispanic Information Telecommunications Network and Highlights Magazine. Ed's got a very elaborate background. I was reading the bio and stuff. It's quite an impressive background. But Ed has worn many hats over the years, but Ed is been in conversations with Susan Van Ness and NDBN about what we can do together with Spanish language programming and books and literacy and a whole host of things. And so we're very happy to have everyone here today. What I'd like to start off with is I'm going to have start off with Elise and just kind of have people go through it and just kind of talk a little bit about what resources their organization offers and that might be of interest to National Diaper Bank Network members, and then we're going to kind of continue to evolve into kind of a roundtable discussion. So we're going to take about each person 5 minutes or so and talk. So whatever you have, but I've got some slides to kind of follow through.
Sure. Well, I think it's relevant to understand a little bit about our brand and what we do and how we really feel like our efforts are different overall, let alone as a business. Even Flow is an over 90-year-old brand. A lot of people know the name, but maybe don't know what exactly we do. We manufacture breast pumps and different infant feeding devices. But I think where we sit a bit differently is our mantra around who we're really speaking to, and our efforts both from a product development and an outreach perspective, really for the majority of Americans who don't have access to $400 breast pumps, don't have access to buying $10 baby bottles times 10, 15 baby bottles that you might need, and don't necessarily have access to really great quality breastfeeding education, feeding education, both prenatally and postnatally. Because that is the majority of America, we feel like we're seen as a mass brand. That is, to me, the biggest gift, because we have a platform and we have a voice and a microphone, but using that to do the right thing and to find ways where we can meet mom in her educational journey, whether it's at ground zero to, you know what, my sister breastfed her baby. I know a little bit about that, but it looks a lot different postnatally. So for us, it's about developing partnerships and gaining resources on education and creating a platform or a place where mom can receive those for free. We don't want education, and we don't want a $400 breast pump or technology to come in the way of mom having a successful breastfeeding journey, and in general, just a successful an intimate feeding relationship with her child, even if that's not through breastfeeding. So, for us, Do you want me to a little bit about what we're doing?
Yeah. I think a little bit about what we're doing, and perhaps some of the educational materials that are online, that resources, online resources that people can access.
Yeah. So we use our website as one of those resources. Our head IBCLC, or International Board Certified Lactation Consultant, Sherry Creso, is a friend and a partner with us. We gather all sorts of content and information, questions that moms frequently ask or need to know, and put them obviously on our website. We also do we use social media as a superior platform, because that's where most of our moms are interacting and asking questions. A lot of times asking maybe the wrong place, if you will. They listen to a lot of people, like old wives' tales and things like that, things that get passed down. So we like to kind of myth bust as well. We do a live breastfeeding Q&A that's free every month. It runs almost 2 hours long through a partner with us, Jamie Grayson, or the Baby Guy. And so Sherry and Jamie do this live Q&A event. We feel like trying to meet those, like I said, meet mom where she is in platforms and places that she accesses, and then giving her an outlet to ask questions, a resource she can go back and find that information if she missed the live Q&A, things like that. But definitely using all of our media tools for those.
Great, thank you. That's a good introduction, Lisa. Ed, I'm going to turn it over to you. We'll talk a little bit about what the highlights and your organization is doing.
Well, I'm sort of a hybrid panel member. But anyway, first of all, I want to thank the National DBAC Network for the work that it's been doing, and the opportunity to be a part of some conversations that are going on and be a part of this wonderful panel. My name is Ed Green. I'm the Vice President for Partnerships and Community Development at the Hispanic Information and Telecommunications Network. How many of you have ever heard of HITN, or the Hispanic Information and Telecommunications Network? There we go. So that's a good place to begin, because most people don't know. It's a 24-hour Spanish language, non-commercial public television station, the only public Latino-run television station in the country. Unlike Univision, Televisa, that are commercial stations and do have corporate social responsibility arms that do other work, HITN is a television station within a 501c3. So the organizations that itself has been involved for about 20 years with a mission that's focused on serving the educational and aspirational needs of Hispanics and communities around the United States. And it is received through satellite and cable program sources. And so everyone pretty much can get HITN through those sources. So one of the things that we've been involved in doing is creating partnerships that might allow us to better use that channel, particularly in those areas where people are trying to reach a community that in certain circumstances may not have access to the kinds of information that we would like for them to have. So one of the projects that we've been involved in has been a project through the U.S. Department of Education Ready to Learn grant. And some of you may know Ready to Learn is associated with a lot of the things that happen through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, production of different kind of shows on the Kids Block for PBS. HITN was the first Latino organization to receive a Ready to Learn grant back in 2010 to develop a transmedia product that focused on English language development, early literacy, and early math for 3 to 5-year-olds. And a transmedia product is one that incorporates both digital and non-digital materials in ways where you have multiple entry points for access and learning that you can use in a variety of different ways. And no matter which particular piece of information you have, it's an entry point that is related to all of the other pieces. Another project that we've been involved in is focused on the notion of food disparities and health and wellness. HITN has been involved with the Bronx Health Reach Coalition, Montefiore Hospital, and the Bodegaria Society of the United States to look at how we can be involved in improving the, number one, the experiences that people have in bodegas and small community stores where there are not lots of other kinds of supermarkets. And this has been initially directed specifically towards individuals who are bodega owners. So the initial work is really a business development type of plan, but it's also oriented towards how can you make healthy food options available in communities and make them available in ways that people can have access to information that says why certain kinds of things would be more healthy than others. We've concentrated this work in the Bronx, and so we've been doing a lot of place-based research around that particular project. Highlights is another one of our partnerships that came about as a result of, and how many people know about Highlights? And everyone in your bag should have one of their publications that talks about something that we're hoping to use in partnership with National Diaper Bank called You and Your Baby's Busy Day. But Highlights is a 70-year-old brand, and about 4 years ago they created something called High Five, which is a magazine for 3 to 5-year-olds. This particular publication is for birth to 2. So they have a range of materials. Highlights magazine then goes from 6 to 8. And one of the things that's important about our partnership right now is with High Five Bilingüe, which is their Spanish language version of High Five that is being used to help support dual language learners and also individuals who are wanting to become familiar with the second language in general. So that partnership has allowed us to have interactions with a lot of different kinds of organizations and through our distribution. Plus, HITN, through its radio transmedia materials, as I said, so we're working with Highlights to develop some transmedia materials based on High Five Bilingüe, so that you have your in-your-hands paper materials, and then other materials that will be hot on hitn.org beginning this weekend before the National Association for the Education of Young Children's Conference kicks off, that will show what kinds of things we've done with interactive storytelling and games that help to reinforce and use language. We also have been in conversations with Susan and with National Diaper Bank to see how can we use these different types of tools and communication strategies to tell different stories. So I really appreciated the fact that what Donna Shalala talked about as being an effective way of getting our message out is talking about ways we can tell those stories. So we have the ability to actually create some opportunities to tell stories. Right now, the Hello and Ola magazines have themes that relate to interacting with your child, but we could further curate those around some messaging that we might find useful to go with some of the things that are done at various diaper banks. And I'm also hoping that we'll be able to continue some other partnership conversations in conjunction with the National Diaper Bank Network with the other panelists who are here, because I think there's some ways we can also communicate. So I'll share a little more.
Thank you. So Summer, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the A1 partnership and Healthy Mom and Baby?
Okay, my name is Summer Hunt. I'm the editorial coordinator at the Association of Women's Health Obstetric and Neonatal Nurses. It's A1 for short. It's quite a mouthful for an acronym. A1 represents the interests of the 350,000 nurses working in that specialty area. We have around just over 24,000 members. And Healthy Mom Baby is our consumer media. It's a website and a magazine, and there's actually a magazine in everybody's bags. And our logo is on the front of the conference bags from the diaper drive that we've been working on for the last 2 years.
And if I can interrupt, the issue of the magazine has articles in there about diaper banks and diaper needs. So.
Yes, on page 50.
Yes.
I was like, I made that note. But a lot of our nurses are already, taking in care items for people in their communities, and so this seemed like a really natural fit for us to partner with the National Diaper Bank Network and also with Huggies. The website that's up on the slide right now, this is at a1.org/diaper drive, and this is where we ask our nurses to share the stories of them, working to meet diaper need in their communities. At our convention this year, our key cards were sponsored by Huggies, and we've had this website listed. So we've had a lot of nurses that will occasionally go on the site, type in, how many diapers they donated, how they did it, where they were at, was it at a chapter meeting or something similar. And so on the bottom, we have a little video on the site introducing our nurse consultants. This year, we have 2 A1 members working as consultants with us, which is great because they've been able to reach out to diaper bank leaders and also our nurses and make that connection so that they can, speak at their meetings or have that relationship there. And then on the next slide, we have some pictures of our nurses doing different drives. We have, we surveyed our nurses and found that they were already providing these kind of necessities like diapers, wipes, car seats, other things. And we've been able to, through our efforts with the Healthy Mom Baby Diaper Drive, help to maximize and amplify the efforts and measure and share what they're doing. And they've involved different people in the community. I mean, we had a drive in LA, you can see where they involved the Girl Scouts and other people. We've mobilized around other local celebrities, sports teams and stuff like that. And so we've tried to develop a better way to connect our nurses with the diaper bank leaders in their communities. And one way we're going to do that, it's going to be coming up new, is that we've got a group set up on our website. So we'll send that link out for everyone where you can join the group and communicate with other nurses in your area. Because like I said, with nurses and the focus of this mission being healthcare and the well-being of families and children, especially with babies and the risks of diaper rash, nurses are right there for their tiniest patients, and so it's a really good connection. But on the next slide, as a result of our partnership with Huggies, we were able to do some volunteer events with the NFL. And so we were in Miami and San Francisco and Detroit, and going forward through the next 2 years, we hope to have more of these events where our nurses will be right outside the stadium, talking to people about diaper need, encouraging them to go online via an Amazon wish list and donate diapers, which is something that we really emphasized a lot this year through a couple of different ways. And actually in the bottom left picture, the lady on the far right is my director of publications, and so she wasn't able to be here, but she is in Florida. And so we've been able to do cool stuff like this through our partnerships. And on the next slide, this is our Healthy Mom Baby website for the diaper drive. We set a goal last year of 125,000 diapers collected through diapers or dollar donations right at the site. And so we would encourage people to, if they had a drive, to come online and enter the amount of diapers that were donated here. And we hit our goal last year. And this year our goal is 250,000 diapers. And I think after we had a major drive in Georgia and Cobb County, we raised over 100,000, which was huge. And we had another drive in LA where we raised about 30,000. So I think this number is actually a lot higher now.
This is old. This is low.
Yeah, and I mean this was just made like last week. So another thing that's really important to note on the site, and especially in light of a lot of things that have been mentioned today about personal narratives and how really one of the best ways to move the mission forward is to think about the moms that you're impacting. And we've been able to kind of put a voice and a face to diaper need with some of the profiles we've done. So on the side, we've got a couple people I spoke with last year. At the top is actually Rachel Alston, who is from the PDX Diaper Bank in Portland. Her story is really awesome. She experienced diaper need and then used that to create the PDX Diaper Bank, which I believe was the first one in Oregon, or the first one in Portland. And so if you look in the magazine on page 51 or 52, I interviewed 2 moms, one from DC who she's very young and she has 2 children. One is her godson, and she ended up volunteering with Keith Ellison, who has been very instrumental with the diaper bill, HR 4055. Yeah. And the other mom is from, she received assistance from the East Side Baby Corner in Washington. And her story, I mean, she's originally from Africa, and she met an American man and moved to the States, and things didn't work out, and she was alone with his children, and she didn't know what to do. And she's really used the assistance from the diaper bank to kind of turn her life around, and her story's really cool. And then on the last page, I think we just have a little close-up clip of the story that we have from Rachel. And Healthy When a Baby, as I said, is a website and a magazine. The website is helpformom.org. There's a lot of different resources on there. The main thing that we like to stress about our website and our magazine, as opposed to like the bump or fit pregnancy, all of it is expert authored patient information. So all of this is from our nurse experts. You've got articles on diaper rash and breastfeeding, and all of this comes straight from our nurses. One of the other features we have on our site is the Ask a Nurse feature.
A good overview this morning, a detailed overview.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being here today, for your partnership. As a mother of 2 young children and as someone who's just been working in early childhood, I've just been so informed and enlightened through this partnership. And I started off really angry that there's so many mothers who don't have access to diapers, and just heartened by all the great work that's been done to provide access. Before I get started, I promise I'll keep this to 5 minutes. If we can all just take a moment to close our eyes and just think of the last time we looked into the eyes of a baby and saw their faces light up. What are they doing? What's making their eyes sparkle? We can just take a few seconds. A couple people love to share. Yes.
We just took my son, who's almost 4, to his first movie at a movie theater. And when it came on, he was eating his popcorn, and he was just like, wow, this is so cool. It was like the best thing I've ever experienced.
How old is
He's almost 4.
he? He's almost.
My youngest is 19, so let's be clear here. I haven't held him on my lap in a long time. But one of our partners stopped by the hub recently, and she had just had a baby, and she looked like a baby. It was awesome. It was great.
I feel like his smiling reactions. I just make them smile at that. So, thank you for sharing. It's one of my favorite sights, just to see their eyes light up when they do something, when we have a conversation. I think, their eyes light up when you're having an interaction with them. When there's a story or a word or a conversation that's shared, and that's really our goal for Too Small to Fail. That research shows that it's not just their eyes and their faces that light up when you share these interactions, like talking, reading, and singing with them. It's actually brain science research shows that their brains are actually lighting up too. And when we first launched our initiative, we surveyed parents and did focus groups and asked them, when do you think you should start talking with your baby or reading with them or singing with them? And we found that there was a lot of confusion across income levels. Is it 6 months? Is it when they can talk back, or maybe when they can start reading? And so this is where we felt that there was a need. We also knew, as we heard from Donna this morning, that there is this word gap in terms of the amount of language children are hearing between lower and middle income communities. And so we really wanted to raise awareness about how critical the early years are, but also provide parents with concrete tools and resources to engage in these types of interactions and make these small moments big to boost their brain development. So we have a website, talkingisteaching.org. We make all of our materials and the messages and tips available free to parents and providers. And we have tools on early literacy, but also the language of math, the language of STEM, as well as content on social and emotional development. Go to the next slide. So these are some of our posters and our signage that we've integrated into all kinds of places. We heard from Lisa earlier about kind of meeting families where they are, and so as Donna also talked about this morning, where we have these types of messages in hospitals, in the waiting room, on bus shelters, in the laundromat, in grocery stores, and they're all themed around just child-friendly topics like cars and bedtime and bath time, feelings, food. And so we have simple prompts for parents. For example, the talk time bath time, we have it on a blanket, and it has simple open-ended prompts for parents, questions that they can ask their child. And these are all informed by research done by Professor Kathy Hirsch-Pasek at Temple University. She actually did a study in grocery stores here right in Philly, in low-income communities, and she placed just open-ended questions around the store. for parents. It says, question for your child. Where does milk come from? Or what color is the fruit or vegetable? Or what kind of sound does a cow make? She actually found that in these grocery stores and low-income communities, just having simple open-ended prompts increased the amount and quality of the conversations by about 4 times more compared to when the signs were not there. And parents also reported that they actually enjoyed shopping more. So it's good for the grocery store, it's good for brain development. And so these are just kind of examples of signs that we have up, as well as just on playgrounds and other settings. So if we go to the next slide with photos of, this is one of our playgrounds in Mississippi Delta. This was just taken last week. So as you're playing, they're just simple prompts for parents on ways to engage together. That's our bus shelter in Oakland, laundromats and grocery stores. And again, all of these materials and content is open source and available for any program. Go to the next slide. We also recently launched a partnership with Spotify to create just playlists for parents. They're all hosted by celebrities who encourage parents to talk, read, and sing with their children, and they're all themed around everyday moments. So playtime, bath time. We want to create one around diaper time. But in between songs, parents can hear just questions or prompts or activity ideas for activities that they can share with their children during these moments. So again, these are all available for free, open source. We'll go to the next slide. And so these are the new tip sheets that we created in partnership with the National Diaper Bank Network. This is a tip sheet for parents specifically related to diaper time and ways they can engage with their children during diaper changing, and diaper time songs, and a little poster that parents can customize and post near their changing station. And I want to give a shout out to my colleague Nicole, who was very instrumental in developing these.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Yes.
Cole did an amazing job in developing this.
And then we also have shareable social media graphics, just again with simple activities and prompts for parents. And we're encouraging parents to use Diaper Time Talk Time to share these daily moments with us. And we're just thrilled to be partnering with Huggies to, and they'll be sharing these graphics on their channels as well.
And I just want to add, these graphics will be available to everybody within the network. So again, we have a website that's being, landing pages that are being built out, and we'll be sharing all these materials with you very soon, like in the coming week, 2 weeks at the max, I think, on that, what this program's about. I think next I'd just like to roll into talking a little bit more about partnerships and having the panel answer just your thoughts on what is it about NDBN and Diaper Bank's mission that makes it a good match with your particular organization? What's the interest there, and are there other extensions that you think we should be looking at? Any takers?
I'll go first.
Okay, thanks.
As far as the connection for us with NDBN, the mission statement of A1 is to improve and promote the health of women and newborns. And I think that's very simply, that's one of the biggest effects from diaper need is the actual health risks of leaving a baby in a diaper too long, the risk of diaper dermatitis, and that's one of the big focus areas for our nurses is helping moms know how to take care of their baby and to keep them healthy. And so I think that's why it's a really good fit for us. And then with our Healthy Mom and Baby, our consumer arm, just reaching out to moms of all income levels. I think if you look at, we've done a reader survey of who our audience is and who reads our magazine or who accesses our website, and it's right in that same, it just fits together perfectly. So I think that just with a focus on health, it's a really good fit for us.
As we began to have some conversations with the National Diaper Bank Network, and we went back to our mission at HITN, one element of that mission is to utilize the resources, people, relationships, and influences that HITN has to provide positive dialogue that helps promote impact. So with that being our mission, and I think about 3 areas of the National Diaper Bank Network that it relates to, raising the awareness of diaper need locally, statewide, building and supporting a national network. And that's why I think we're interested in trying to look at that national level to do things that can be beneficial to the various local and state networks. And then distributing diapers to babies suffering from diaper need. As many of you know, when you look at the demographics, there are some very, very disturbing graphics with respect to Hispanic children and families in the United States. And so whether it has to do with health disparities or different aspects of life itself, there are messages that need to get to people. So I think one of the real important parts of the blending of the mission is that we reach approximately 40 million homes. That is an opportunity to sort of share some messaging that might be beneficial to those parts of the country where HITN is viewed, and using that also as an opportunity to maybe use some of our resources and expertise to develop messaging, similar to what Jane was talking about, and then similar to what we heard from the other two panelists, to push those messages out in Spanish and in English, because there are lots of many of your PBS affiliates that are in areas that have Spanish language populations nearby. They're asking even HITN, do you have Spanish language content that you could license to us, because we're looking for more to include on our station, so we can be a conduit. So I think that's maybe one of the major roles that makes this potential partnership opportunity really important.
I actually have two questions. I'm really interested in your two smaller magazines, the Take Five and the. How are you getting those out to relevant populations?
Well, right now, with respect to, we focus primarily on Hi-Fi Bilingual, which is the 3 to 5 year old, or 2 to 5 brand, and that's done through our partnerships through a variety of organizations, some of which are organizations people don't know about. How many of you are familiar with Abriendo Puertas out of California? And Abriendo Puertas is an organization founded to really interact with families. And so we're doing things with their training opportunities. We've also pushed out these magazines through other organizations, including resource and referral agencies, et cetera. So right now we have the opportunity to say, what can we do in conjunction with National Diaper Bank Network that will be relevant and will help to continue to further the cause that's related to diaper needs. So there's some opportunities to have that dialogue, so thank you for raising
So it kind of leads to my second question, which is, I love all these resources that are available. Are they available in other languages?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Most of our resources, almost all of our resources are available in English and Spanish. And depending on specific communities, we have version done into many other languages. And we're happy to look at specific content and version of it.
One of the You and Your Baby's Busy Day is the Hola magazine at 0 to 2. And so there's also a partnership relationship between Highlights and the Clinton Foundation. So I think that there's some opportunities to sort of lift up ways of repurposing some of the existing materials. And if we can do that through our interactions with the national and with the other partner organizations, we can do massive reproductions of things that will allow for people to put their own logos on the back and put them into the shrink wrap packages, or use them in conjunction with other training programs that people are doing now with family parenting tracks.
Thank you.
That's a really good point. That we just started this year our partnership with the National Diaper Bank Network. Even Flow Feeding is actually owned by Kimberly Clark Mexico. So when Troy contacted me, I knew about this much about diaper need, but not nearly as much as I do now. And when he reached out, obviously Huggies and Kimberly Clark Corporation, as one of the founding partners, we are like a rounding error to the size of Kimberly Clark and even to the size of the Huggies brand. And so when he first pinged me by email and made a connection with me through KC and through Huggies, I thought, well, of course I was going to talk to you. But my first inclination was, what do we have to do with that? And then we started talking, and it took me about 30 seconds. And our position and and what we do, it's all around, it boils down to every baby's advocate and every parent's ally. And when you think about what that means, we are every baby's advocate, not just children of certain fortune or socioeconomic position, and we are every parent's ally. We are with you, and how can we, what are every way that we work with moms and babies and dads to do that? And that's a filter that we put all of our product development through, all of our messaging through, all of our education through. So my aha moment was with Troy thinking, okay, you guys are doing all of this heavy lifting. You've done all of this building of a network in order to push out materials, diapers, education, things like that to people who really need it. They went back and surveyed the diaper banks to figure out from an infant feeding perspective, what are things that your moms and families need? And then we took it from there to say, okay, so breast care, breast pads. Whether you're going to breastfeed or not, there's a period of time that you need breast pads. Similarly to, different, I understand, but you're talking about skin health. Things like that. So we kind of boil down what are the biggest needs and where are the biggest needs. Let's start there and build a framework for what could be bigger. With that, though, what really, you just said that about language. So we, one of the things, little sidebar, one of the pieces, like I was talking about with education, all of our breast pumps come with full breastfeeding programs. It's digital, it's free. You log in, you can do it on your phone, and it's literally over an hour class around breastfeeding. And then our other pumps, our full-time pumps, come with a back to work. Like, how do you continue your pumping and breastfeeding journey and be successful after you go back to work? Milk storage, things like that. Those are, it's all video. You're watching it. We've got it in French, English, Spanish. But as we start to cultivate educational material that we look to push out to all of the diaper banks, how do you properly store breast milk? How do you properly prepare a bottle of formula? Because it's actually quite specific. And if you read stories about children becoming ill and dying actually from improper formula preparation, those are pieces that, I have to remember, we need to do this in multiple languages. And we do that, like I said, in other things, but it's a really good point to bring up as we continue to build up that educational resource. And I would say, if there are common themes that you get or you hear through your banks, through your moms and families, please share them, because those are specifically around maternal health and infant feeding. Those are great inputs that we would love and will help us craft and direct the information so that we can help more people with the right answers to the questions that they're really weighing heavy on their mind. So
That actually raises a question I have for you all. Like, what makes a good partner? From your perspective, everybody here represents a nonprofit organization. How can we be good partners to further your mission, or what do you look for that says we like working with these people? In a little bit of that, at least, is the kind of feedback that you want to hear from the Dr. Bank.
Well, after our first shipment, so we're providing things like bottles, manual pumps. So to get mom, going, or to protect her pumping, if she's waiting on an electric pump through WIC, any of those scenarios, bottles, breast pads, things of that nature. So after our first shipment, I was literally waiting for the to find out that they'd been delivered and received. And Trey's like, they got them. I'm like, all right, what next? Like, how did, a week later, 2 weeks later, what was used most? Just constant feedback. What are you hearing? What are you being asked for? What did you receive that maybe moms were like, oh, I really needed this, or if I had that could have really helped a lot more. The reality is, we, as a partner, we have the ability to shift and be dynamic about what we're doing. That's the beauty of being a small company, too, is that we are very nimble. So that feedback is just really important.
If I may, I would love to receive your shipment. And a story born yesterday.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you.
John actually shared a story with us after we've done 2 shipments to 4 diaper banks. It's kind of a piloting program just to kind of get.
Would love to. We're reaching all families, but especially in underserved communities. They've provided that channel for us to communicate and engage parents, and similar to our partnership with the National Diaper Bank Network. And also just kind of liking the people you're working with.
Yeah.
I think that's important, just kind of identifying people who are kind of sympathetic to the cause and care about the issues, not necessarily have the same expertise or skills or kind of products, but together you creating something really unique that no other partner is able to.
Yeah, I definitely think like being able to communicate. Just effective communication, like being available, being responsive. I think one of the biggest important things for A1, with our nurses is just having a partner that supports our mission and making sure there's that cohesive, relationship. And I think that's why we do work so well together. And also partnering with Huggies and being able to produce materials that support the health of women.
A little bit more on the partnership that Huggies has with A1 is in the hospital program. It's a neonatal nurses organization. They're providing those micro creamy diapers and stuff into hospitals and doing a lot of skincare education and work with the nurses. So that's the extension of the program that Summer's speaking of. But also, I think one thing that Summer alluded to during her initial comments and remarks is what we want to see the network do is more outreach to A1 nurses. They have sections around the country. And some of those section chiefs have reached out to local diaper banks in their communities. You saw the different diaper drives and stuff that have gone on during Diaper Awareness Week. This program, from A1's perspective, is expanding to kind of a year-round operation. So it's not just, we're doing it 2 weeks, 4 weeks around Diaper Awareness Week. We're going to continue to build that and expand that program. And so there's going to be an opportunity that we're going to encourage you all to find those local A1 folks in your community and say, hey, we know there's this program going on with the National Diaper Bank Network and diaper banks around the country in A1. We want to work with you on that. We tap into the nurses in your community. And there's been a lot of connections this year that were made from the nurses to diaper banks. Now we'd like to see the diaper banks reach out back out to the nurses and go that direction. This is kind of I think rolling into a third year of this kind of initiative. First year we just kind of jumped in and see where it went. But the other thing that's interesting, there are two consultants that A1 has hired to work with the nurses to try to make connections with diaper banks, and or if there's a nurse organization that says, hey, we just did a diaper drive, we've got 5,000 diapers, we don't know what to do with them. It's helping identify organizations in those communities that can take the diapers. As many of you may know, there are 4 states in the United States where we do not have active diaper bank programs. And Hawaii is one of them. And A1 had their chapter out there, did a big drive for like 2 or 3 week long drive, and got a lot of local press and so on and so forth. We're hoping that becomes the seed to actually getting a member diaper bank program in Hawaii.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the other 3 are Vermont of all places, which you would think we'd have organizations up there distributing diapers. There are, but they do it in different fashions and stuff and haven't aligned with the national yet. And Montana and North Dakota are the other 3. Guys, anybody have any questions out here? Yeah.
I'm Lindsay from in Birmingham. I'm actually a labor and delivery nurse.
I'm from Birmingham originally.
Oh, cool. So I work at St. Vincent's, and I have been trying, begging, pleading. This is just too good of a fit not to take advantage of, and I just can't seem to get in touch with the right person.
I can definitely help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can definitely, we want to know that insight. We have a very active director in Birmingham, and we have one of our board members is from Birmingham. And so we do have nurses there. I think it's just being able to know who to ask, or, because not all nurses are A1 nurses. I mean, all nurses are, by nature very caring and want to help, but I think that if we can find the A1 nurse in your community, and I know that there's drives in Alabama, we have nurses in Huntsville and Birmingham, and all over the country. There are nurses in every state, and we also have an Armed Forces chapter. So I think that you can reach directly out to me. I'll have my information available for everybody. And like I said, we are creating a group directly on our A1 site, and we'll distribute that link to everyone. I think it's bit.ly.com diaper group, I believe is the link, and I can make sure everybody has that. But the way it is on our site is very community-based, and so our nurses can talk to each other on the site in different groups, and this way we'll be able to commingle our nurses and our diaper bank leaders. And I definitely think that we can totally do that. We've had schools of nursing have participated in diaper drives. They are trying to find places to take the diapers to. When we worked with some other groups, we were trying to locate diaper banks in their area. And so we've also been able to expand the network by finding banks that exist that weren't part of the network where people were taking their diapers to. But get in touch with me.
Another question. Do you know, like in every state, the A1 nurses, you won't know them? I work in a hospital also. I'm a respiratory therapist, and I used to do neonatal, but the hospital I work at now don't. But the hospital just had a diaper drive for me, which it wasn't as successful as I thought it would be the first go round. But the nursery nurses are always collecting diapers, which I think that would be, a good revenue. And the manager reached out and said, hey, there's some things we'd like to do. But the thing I want to say is that the CEO used to be a NICU nurse. Mm-hmm. So we were, I was wondering, like, how could I reach out to them to say, hey, this is something we definitely need to do.
I think I would suggest reaching out to that person, but I think for our nurses, one of the things that I found really resonates with them is when you really talk to them about the health implications of diaper need. Even with our nurses, a lot of them, we even found, even this is the second year, a lot of people didn't realize we were doing a diaper drive. And I think we kind of got in our bubble where we're so close to it, and we think, oh, we've been pushing this information out. And we found that when they did know about the diaper drive, they were not aware of what diaper need was. You just don't think about it. But they still think about health disparities, and they do. A lot of our nurses, depending on where they are. One of our nurses that came up for the lobby day worked in Richmond, and she was like, a large portion of our births are low-income families, and they do, before they even leave the hospital, they're asking about this kind of stuff. And so whereas you may think that someone needs that stuff, we don't always make that connection about the health risks. So I think I would approach that person directly and just say, we have this large nursing organization who is supporting the National Diaper Bank through their partnership. One of the main things is to consider is this health risk. By having a diaper drive or by, mobilizing more people in your hospital around diaper need and collecting diapers, you're therefore elevating their health and making a big difference. I think referencing the Yale study that talks about maternal stress as well, along with health risks, is really a really good selling point. But I find that resonates with our nurses.
I guess I have one final question: is the role of persistence in reaching out with for potential partners, whether they're nonprofit organizations or companies or brands or local retailers. What's the role of persistence? Because many of you, we've been in conversations for a lengthy period of time and finally have achieved some things. But I just want maybe some comments on that.
One of the things I was going to say, and I think Donna mentioned some of this morning, is that it's not don't always look at the usual suspects. So if you're interacting with another nonprofit or a corporation, it may not always be that CEO, COO that will get you where you need to go. Sometimes you need to look at the corporate social responsibility arm of the organization, because there are oftentimes employee-sponsored initiatives, and there are people who are from those different groups who oversee that. So I think it's important to be able to do that kind of looking, and also with other companies and groups, look at who the board of directors are, because a lot of times there are individuals on those boards who can be an emissary, to being able to reach out. And I was going to say, for example, for those who have had an interest, and this is particularly in relationship to HITN's mission within Hispanic communities, that there are organizations like the National Association of Elected Latino Officials, which very few people ever go to. But they're interested because they are policymakers in Congress, in state, and local places who, if they have access to the information, they can also bring other parts of the community into that work as well. So I think and that's one thing that I've continued to try to stress in each of the relationships that I've had. We can do broad and general kinds of things, but in trying to really target the populations that are still at risk, are still the highest demographic numbers, and may not necessarily have access to the kind of information we're talking about here, those officials and those people are individuals that we like to get in touch with. And our CEO, for example, is very active with elected officials. So when people come to HITN, they don't often have conversations that are just about how do you get stuff on TV, but how do you get stuff into the hands of the elected officials so that they can say to their constituencies, this is something we need to be involved in. And part of my coffers will go to helping support that.
Anybody else, like 30 seconds on that?
Just as an example, just to use this partnership as an example, this happened because I think I don't know if you remember, I cold called you just one afternoon. I read about your mission and thought the National Diaper Bank Network would be a great partner. Thank you for picking up my call. But that's just kind of how it started. But we didn't really have the idea in the beginning, and I think we just kind of stayed in touch over, I don't know, 2 years.
Yeah, two and a half
Until
years.
Penguin came in with this, Penguin came in with this great donation of books, and this kind of all started. But sometimes the idea isn't there in the beginning, but just to kind of stay in touch and keep each other updated is always helpful. And that's been similar with other partners. Our playground partner, that took a couple of years of kind of courting, it's kind of, developing that relationship to evolve. And so, yeah, in terms of persistence and staying in touch.
Yeah, and Elise, I appreciate your comments on that because I hadn't heard that side of why. But yes, the persistence is there, and I think it's important that you maintain those relationships, particularly if somebody has a spark of an idea. And it may take a while to figure out, okay, how do we get this funded? Because all these things have to be funded. Someone's job has to, salary has to be paid, and materials have to be developed, and product has to be donated, for anything as we're going forward. And sometimes it just takes time, to figure out how to make that work. And I appreciate Ed's comments and Donna's comments from earlier today about looking for the, not the usual suspects, but those unusual suspects along the way. And, partners can come from all different walks of life and organizations.
It can also come accidentally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of ours happen because I happened to sit at a wrong table and sit in another one where I met our playground partner.
Right.
So, I mean, you just never know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think a comment. We've realized recently that our diaper bundles are prime real estate and that they're reaching a demographic that a whole lot of people would like to reach. So we're figuring out basically how to monetize the space that we have. And we had a hospital conglomerate in Cincinnati ask us if we could put their logo on every diaper bundle. And I said, well, for $10,000, I'll put it on there for a year. And they said, okay. So now we're like, well, can we rotate people's logos throughout the year? And people want to put safe sleep tips in our bundles. And we want to put safe diapering tips. There's a whole bunch of messages that people want to get to the same demographic. So we're trying to figure that out and what that might look like.
Yeah, please share those kind of insights. Because that's like the roll of the dice. Like, how much do we pay?
I know. I was like, she said yes so quickly. I'm like, oh, that was too bad.
But that's a good point of recognizing the real estate that we have, the demographics that we have, that ultimately people are consumers, and don't want to make it a crass thing like that, but people buy stuff, but again, the clients that you're serving ultimately are consumers of other products and services, in society. And so I think there is some value in that. We should probably explore that a little further.
Sure, I was going to say also that what I handed out was an idea that I wanted people to brainstorm on, because the stories that need to be told aren't just the stories that have to do with the interactions between the adult and the child, but also the interactions between the people who have volunteered in your programs. We need to tell their stories. So one of the things that we're trying to do with some of the materials that we've developed, with some of the brands that we've been associated with, is to say, can we use those brands in conjunction with the National Association and with the National Diaper Bank Network to create a national push out that would be developed so that local groups could put their own stamp on it, or ask other people in the community, if you want to co-sponsor this particular piece that we develop in collaboration with HIT, and it'll cost you X number of dollars. That's a way that you could also push some things out, because people sometimes want to have their name on something. So if we are able to get a sponsor to create some stories about the volunteers, you know, that's another way that we might be able to get people to say, okay, well, I want to make sure more people know about that. So there's another whole push out that we can monitor.
We were talking about finding partners or partnering with people who share a mission, but I think also not thinking about if you're approaching a small company or a local business or some type of potential partner, making sure that not only do you line up fundamentally, but also helping them understand that it's not all or nothing. It's not you go big or go home. And that was my first, when we were talking, I'm thinking, well, there's no way I can do what Huggies is doing. That's more than what we do as a total company type of thing. But being able to say, what if we could try this? How could we do this together? How could we start very small and let's create a model and then expand that instead of intimidating someone into thinking that it's got to break the bank, and letting other people see that success and then modeling that to grow it.
Absolutely. Success begot success. And so once you can use this example, I think, with Evenflow, and we use it with leverage it with another organization, say, look how effectively this program works. We can do this kind of thing over here, So yes, it works together. I think everything works together. Unfortunately, I think we are out of time. There are evaluations on your tables. If you'd please fill those out and drop them off in the back here. Michael is collecting those. That would be great. Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys.